Hello everyone and welcome to the College Horizons webinar. This webinar is titled Common App 101 Tips and Strategies for Applying. It's a part of our fall webinar series for students. Thank you to the students, educators, parents, and teachers out there joining us today. A reminder that the webinar will be recorded and placed on the College Horizons YouTube channel. A link to the recording will be sent to everyone who registered. If you encounter any tech issues today, please use the chat box in your GoToWebinar panel, and I'll do my best to help you. To participate on today's webinar, we also invite you to use the question box located also on the GoToWebinar panel, located on the right side of your screen. Submit a question at any time during the presentation, and at the end of the webinar, we will have a few minutes for a question and answer session. We'll select a few questions to answer. Any remaining questions will be answered over email. Before I introduce today's speaker, I would like to briefly introduce myself and share a bit about College Horizons to plug our upcoming programs in 2015. Excuse me. Dosha, my name is Hilary Abe. I'm the coordinator of recruitment and alumni affairs for College Horizons. I'm also a citizen of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation, and I've been at College Horizons for the past 4 years. College Horizons is a national college access and a success nonprofit organization whose mission is to facilitate the higher education of Native American, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian youth. We accomplish this by offering admission workshops that occur each summer. College Horizons, our annual program for high school students, which will be held twice in 2015, and then Graduate Horizons, our graduate admissions workshop for college students and current college graduates that is held every other year, which is set to occur again in 2016. So in 2015, we will be offering 2 College Horizons workshops, as I've mentioned. These are for high school students. The first program will be held at Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine, the other at Stanford University in Stanford, California. The dates of each are visible, should be visible on the slide in front of you. Actually, I don't see this slide up. Ralph, can you make sure that, are you sharing your screen?
I am.
Okay, great. Got
Got it now, Hillary?
Yeah, I see it. Okay, great. And then the application to this summer's programs for high school students will become available by October 15th. However, students can sign up now through our website. As soon as the application becomes available, we'll send out the link so that students can access that. We just like to send out this information so that if you know any students who could benefit from this program, we want you to encourage them to check out our website at www.collegehorizons.org for more information. Our application process is open to Native American, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian sophomores and juniors in high school who maintain a 3.0 GPA or above in core academic courses and have proof of enrollment or status. So please check out our website for more details and find us on Twitter or Facebook. And without further ado, I'm excited to introduce today's speaker. Ralph Figueroa is the Dean of College Counseling at Albuquerque Academy and is a longstanding faculty member of College Horizons. He is an outstanding resource to our programs and our students, and we are so thankful that you, Ralph, are sharing your knowledge and leading us on today's webinar, so thank you.
You bet. Happy to do so. All right. What we're talking about today is the Common Application. The Common Application is a great tool for students to use in applying to a great range of different colleges and universities. First of all, though, foremost, Common Application is a membership association. The colleges who use the Common Application are colleges that agree to use holistic review in admissions, meaning that they're going to look at you as a whole person. They're going to look at not only grades and test scores, and some of them will actually make test scores optional, but they will look at essays that you write, they will look at your application information and background and demographics and a lot of different information there. They will look at range of your activities and extracurriculars. They will look at your leadership. They will look at the impact that you make in your community, whether it's at school or at home or with your church community, whatever it is. In other words, they don't want you to just be a number. They want to really look at you in a lot of different ways. Common Application schools also agree to look at recommendations from your teachers, from your school, or from your counselor, someone like that. Okay. The Common App is also, though, an online application system, and it only works online. You go to it with the link of the website that's right there on the screen, www.commonapp.org. And going to that homepage, you can look at a couple things, including the list of all the different colleges that currently take the Common Application. And I might deviate and just go see that really quickly now, Hillary, if you don't mind. Member colleges, all members. Can you see this on the screen?
Yeah, that's shown up nice and clear.
Okay, let me just sort of go slowly here. You'll see it's a lot of colleges that you might expect, a lot of small liberal arts colleges, a lot of private colleges, places like Bard College, just to pick one out of the list, Lawrence University in Wisconsin, a great school. But then there are also some state schools you'll see over on this side, some of the state universities of New York. More and more public schools, more and more state institutions, Ohio State, University of Oklahoma, University of Michigan. So it's a growing network of colleges that now are part of the Common Application Association and do accept the Common Application online. All right, let me see if I can get back to my slideshow. All right. When you're using the Common Application, the first thing you have to do is to sign up for it and to sign up for an account, for which you're going to need an email address. Okay. This is kind of a little slide, and you will need to go through the basic demographics. Common Application Online is pretty intuitive. The questions really make sense. They're, for the most part, very straightforward and easy to understand, and the application will walk you through one step at a time. You will put in your information. You will put in your address. You will put in phone numbers. You will, as you do each section, it will then prompt you to do the next section that comes up, so that you should be able to go through and do it pretty easily. Starting the application is a great idea for you seniors who are looking at college and ready to apply to colleges. And if you know that you're applying to at least 2 Common Application members, then it's good to use the Common Application and to save that time by doing the one application that will be accepted multiple times. One thing I like to point out is that one of the things that you will go through in the Common Application registration, and this is a screenshot of the actual Common Application online, is it will ask you information about your education and your background, including if you have worked for any community-based organizations, have worked with anybody to help you on your application process. College Horizons graduates, guess what? College Horizons is listed there in the drop-down menu as one of the community-based organizations that you can indicate that you have worked with. It's really, really important that you do that. That will, first of all, identify you as someone who has been thinking about the college process and is focused on the college process and has taken the time and the trouble to go to the College Horizons program and get that assistance. And it will let the colleges know that the College Horizons can be making a difference to you and to your college search. Let's go on here to the next slide. Okay, this is the actual sign-in, sort of kind of taking a step back and showing how you sign into the Common Application. And when you access the website, commonapp.org, you will be prompted with a sign-in sheet and you create a new account. That's what you're going to be doing. There it is. Yay, create a new account. The Common Application is a really helpful tool, and it really can make you facilitate that process, but keep in mind that it is part of a whole process of factors that colleges look at in deciding who to admit and who not. Here is a big overview of what an application can generally consist of. Basic information, name, address, high school, email, things like that. Application form itself, transcripts, and GPA. Transcript is a record of your high school classes and grades. Okay, that's typically what it gets sent directly from your school to the colleges, and it can be done through the Common Application form itself. GPA is your grade point average. It talks about what kind of grades you have. A lot of students will get hung up about their transcripts and their GPA. Think maybe my grades aren't perfect, maybe I don't have all A's in my classes, maybe I've struggled in some areas. That's the great thing about these Common Application schools. They're going to look at you as a whole person. They're not going to jump to conclusions based on numbers alone. They're going to look at how hard your classes have been. They're going to look at what kind of classes you've been able to take at your school. They're going to judge you in the context of your own particular high school and what is happening with you and what you have had an opportunity to take, and they're really going to look at the big picture. Extracurricular activities and accomplishments are going to be important to the Common Application schools. Colleges don't want students who are just going to be studying all the time. They don't want students who are just going to be purely about the academics. Colleges are seeking a balance of students who not only bring academic talent in academic schools and strong high school preparation, but who bring different perspectives, different interests, different experiences with activities. They want students who have leadership in a variety of academic extracurricular areas and activities, and that's important to keep in mind. Don't get worried if you don't have a huge long list of activities and extracurriculars. It's not about the number of activities that you have. It's about the nature and quality of your activities. Colleges are looking for your passion, for your engagement. They're looking for leadership. Recommendations. You're going to have to ask one or two teachers to write you letters of recommendation when you're applying to schools through the Common Application. That's a good thing. It allows teachers to talk about what kind of student you are in the classroom, what kind of impact you make in an academic setting, and put you in a context. Counselor recommendation, sometimes called school recommendation or school report, is an important piece too. That's what I do here at Albuquerque Academy. I'm one of the college counselors who writes that letter for our students when they're applying to college. That can, again, set context about the school and really help the colleges understand where you're coming from academically, what kind of resources you had available to you. Personal essay and short answer questions. The Common Application form itself requires an essay to be submitted, and there are going to be a selection of essay topics that you can choose from. We'll talk a little bit more about the essay shortly. There are also some short answer questions, some things that you will be asked to talk about, activities, maybe you're interested in particular questions. And here's where it gets a little bit tricky with the Common Application, because even though all 500 and something members of the Common Application agree to take the Common Application and you can fill it out just once, each of the colleges can ask you additional questions, and that's what are called the supplemental questions or essays. They can ask you, in addition to what you fill out on the Common Application, in addition to the main essay that you put there, we want you to answer this. We want you to answer this other question, or we'll give you 3 essay questions and you get to choose one of those 3. It varies from school to school. That's why you students have to be pretty careful with this part to make sure that you are answering all the questions that the colleges want you to, and once you add colleges to the Common Application, to make sure that you've done everything that they want. A quick hint here. Sometimes colleges will ask a question that says, why us? Why this college? Why are you applying to this university? Why are you applying to this college? Anytime a college asks that question in a short essay or a longer essay, it's critically important that you spend time thinking about that essay and answering it the best that you can. Colleges pay a lot of attention to that essay question in particular. They really want to know that you have learned what that college has to offer, know something about that program, know something about specific majors at that college, know something about the setting and the size of that college. So that's a chance to really show off your knowledge of that college and really convince them that, yes, I might be applying to several different colleges, which they'll assume, but this is why I really like your college, because of where it is, because of this program, because of this feature, because of this detailed thing on your campus that I'm aware of and that I want to be a part of. So take a chance, take an opportunity to really score some big points when you get that particular question as a supplement. There are often application fees associated with college applications, and the Common Application lets you do those online. Sometimes you can get what's called a fee waiver. You might have already gotten a fee waiver for standardized test scores for the SAT or the ACT. If that's the case, the Common Application gives you a couple different options to choose that will say what kind of fee waiver you might qualify for. So that's important enough. If I can find it quickly, I'm going to go try to look at the actual Common Application and see. So give me a second here, folks, to log on. I have an account with the Common Application. It's not a real account, it's just one that I use in instructing my students. Right. All right. Common application. Here we go. This is the fee waiver section. Okay. Our member colleges want to make sure application fees do not pose a barrier for any student. Oh, that was a sample of what the Common App Online does too. You have a little red star, you hold the cursor over the star, and some further instructions pop up, some further details. Okay. And it gives you these choices. You received an ACT or SAT fee waiver, you're enrolled in free or reduced lunch program, income falls within certain guidelines, and so on and so on. So you'll see that there are several different options you can choose if you want to ask for a fee waiver. In other words, if you want to ask for the colleges not to make you pay for that application. So that was important enough that I wanted you to see what it actually looks like. And go through this one thing at a time. If you don't know whether you apply for any of these, maybe talk to your counselor, talk to a teacher at your school to try to figure out if you will fall into one of these categories and can therefore ask for a fee waiver. All right, let's go back to our slideshow. All right, make sure, tell me if it's not showing the way it's supposed to, Hillary. I'm assuming it does.
Looks great.
Okay. All right. Test scores. SAT and ACT can be an important part of an admission and application process. Keep in mind that there are a huge number of schools growing every day that do not require SAT or ACTs. A website that you might go to is one that's called fairtest.org. Fairtest, all one word, .org. That's a good place to go to look at colleges that don't require SAT or ACT. But for those colleges that do require those standardized tests, all four-year colleges in the country will now take either the SAT or the ACT. So if you've taken both, if you've done better in one than the other, then that's good news because every four-year college will take them. Generally, though, you need to send those official scores from the test agency, from the SAT or the ACT, directly to the colleges. FAFSA is a federal financial aid form. If you're going to be applying for aid from the colleges, you are going to need to fill out the FAFSA. Every college will require that form. FAFSA is a federal form and is only good for the calendar year. I think there's more information on the next page. Let's go on here. Yeah, so we'll talk about that a little bit. This is a good, I'll talk about it at the bottom of the slide. This is a good overall timeline for you seniors. September, which we're in right now. Schedule the ACT or the SAT if you've not taken it yet. The websites to go to are for the SAT, go to collegeboard.org. That's all one word, College Board. For the ACT, go to actstudent.org, and you can sign up online. If you've never taken either of those tests, signing up the first time takes a little while because they ask you a lot of different questions about your background. That'll take you about 30 to 45 minutes. Sign up for the Common Application account. We showed you that briefly. Create a to-do list based on the deadlines of your colleges. October, begin working on your essays. We'll talk again more about that with the next slide. Request those recs from your teachers. Receive feedback on essays in November. Follow up with teachers and counselors in December. And then after the first of the year, this is the point I wanted to make about the FAFSA, which is the main federal financial aid form. After the first of the year, you can fill out the FAFSA. So you're going to college, seniors, in fall of 2015, so you can't start filling out the federal financial aid form until after January 1st, 2015. So it's only good for that calendar year. Important thing to remember, now that you're going to be going to college for the next 4 years, if you're going to be applying for financial aid and filling out the FAFSA, you have to do that every year. One of the things that is required are tax returns from your parents, which means that your parents no longer have until April 15th to do their taxes. Their taxes have to be done as soon as possible, in late January or early February, because that's when financial aid deadlines are. That can be a big change. That's something that you might want to talk to your parents about right now. The fact that mom, dad, your taxes are going to have to be done earlier in the year than you're used to, at least for the next 4 years while I'm in college. They'll be really excited about that, believe me. There are sometimes other financial aid requirements. A lot of private schools require a form called the CSS profile. That's generally just for private schools. It's an additional form that you have to fill out. And if you know that you have schools that require that, you can actually start filling that out with your parents right now, so you don't have to wait until after January 1st. Personal essay. The essay is something that sometimes causes students to have a lot of stress. They think so much is writing on it. My essay has to be perfect. My essay has to be unique. My essay has to stand out from all the other essays ever written in the history of time. That's not true. You need to relax a little bit. Your essay is a chance for you to talk about yourself a little bit more, to tell a little bit more of your story. It doesn't have to be a story that's unique to all the college applications out there. No, it just has to be sincere. It has to be genuine. It has to be something that is important to you, something that is very meaningful to you. Okay? And I'm going to deviate, go back to my Common App and go to try to find the essay prompts. All right. These are the 5 essay prompts that the Common Application offers you. So if you're filling out the Common Application, you have to write one of these essays, okay? And again, you might have additional essays that you need to fill out for other colleges, but you, at the minimum, are going to have to write one of these essays. Important things, 650 words. That's the limit. There's actually a minimum of 250 words. That should be no problem for most students, but there's an upper limit of 650 words. It's really important that you stick to that limit. That's plenty of time to express a story about yourself, to tell a little bit about your background. But sometimes students will want to write essays about a topic that you can't write about in 650 words. I've had students who want to talk about a struggle with an illness and a life-threatening situation, something very dramatic, very, very powerful. And I had to tell a student, you know what, that's a great topic, but 650 words is not enough time to talk about all the different things that happened, to talk about all the ways that that impacted your life. We will let the colleges know about this situation separately, but don't write your college essay about that because you don't have enough time in 650 words. So sometimes there will be subjects that are too much for just a 650-word essay, which is about 2.5 pages, okay? But look at the prompts that we do have here. Some students have a background or story that is so central to their identity, application would be incomplete without this story. For a lot of Native students, this is a perfect place to think about how your Native culture has impacted you, how you have really been different, how it has affected you, how it affects your interactions, how it has impacted the development of your life. This is a good place to think about your stories in particular relating to your Native culture. Time when you experience failure. That's a very nice open-ended prompt that you can use. Time when you've challenged a belief or an idea. That's a great opportunity or two. An environment where you're perfectly content. I've often seen a lot of College Horizons students use this essay prompt to describe their own native land, whether they live on a reservation, whether they live in their native lands, or whether they don't, to talk about that and that impact on them. So keep that in mind. An accomplishment or event that marked your transition from childhood to adulthood. Many Native cultures have a ceremony, an event, a formal transition between being a child of your nation and being a full-fledged adult in your nation. That's a wonderful opportunity to use that as an essay, and that's a great thing to do. Overall, though, these essay prompts were designed to be very open and flexible. If you can think of a topic that you want to write about that kind of sort of fits into one of these prompts, that's fine. Just use it. These were not meant to be restrictive. They were meant to be open-ended, and we hope that students who wrote with these essay prompts would find a place to tell their story. If you're a kid who likes the sciences and wants to talk about science a lot, you can talk about that in one of these. If you're a kid who's an artist and wants to talk about art in some way, you can talk about this. You want to talk about family stories, you want to talk about humorous stories, you want to talk, whatever you want to do, we are confident that you will find one of these prompts that will work for you. Getting back to my PowerPoint. There's no formula, but keep within the word limit. Communicating who you are. Before I worked here at Albuquerque Academy, I actually spent 10 years on the college side as an admission officer, reading applications, trying to decide which students would be admitted to the colleges that I worked for. Essays were often my favorite part of the application because I had numbers, I had grades, I had curriculum, I had different activities. I had a sense of who a student was, but I wanted to hear that student's voice. I wanted to be able to get a sense of who they were as a person, what they were going to bring to our campus, what they were going to, how their accomplishments shaped who they were, and really enjoyed when students took advantage of that essay and conveyed those kind of things to me pretty well. Feedback can be so important. Writing doesn't have to be a solo endeavor. You don't have to sit alone in a room or sit alone on a computer somewhere and just come up with it entirely on your own. Get feedback from your teachers. Get feedback from your peers, from anybody that you think might give you some good idea. Don't let them write it for you. You need to have integrity. You need to do this for yourself. But there's nothing wrong with getting feedback and getting advice from lots of different people. The more people who look at it, the better. Revise, revise, revise. That's always a great rule in writing. And anytime that you have something that you are proud of, take a look at it, have other people take a look at it, see if you can make it even better. Highlight aspects of yourself not discussed in other areas. That can be very, very helpful and effective strategy to use in writing the essays. Let's take a step back and talk about this process for those of you who might not yet be seniors, might not be on the verge and getting ready to throw in these applications. What about sophomores and juniors? Grades are important. For every college, your grades are important. Why? Not because they want you to jump over a hurdle, but students who have done well in high school, especially students who have done well in a rigorous curriculum, have really the best chance of doing well in colleges. So look at courses that fulfill college's requirement. Look at rigorous coursework. Look at taking math and science and foreign language. Look at taking the most rigorous courses that you can do well in at your high school. Take the Aspire test to measure and give you practice for these standardized tests, the PSAT for juniors, because practicing those standardized tests can be very, very helpful. There's also a free website that I like for test prep that can be used by sophomores, juniors, and seniors. It's called number2.com. The word number, N-U-B-E-R, and then a 2 after that, the symbol 2. Number2.com. Free test prep for both the SAT and the ACT. Think about that. Conversations with your counselor. Conversations with College Horizons counselor if you have a chance to go to that program. Explore summer programs. Familiarize yourself with colleges. Visit colleges. This is a real basic tip. The more colleges you step foot on, the better you're going to do in this college search process. The more you're going to be able to know what you like and what you don't like. Recommendations are important. Ask your teachers early. You ask a teacher in person whether or not he or she can write you a good letter of recommendation. That's the best thing. Ideally, if you can find one teacher from a math or a science class and one from an English, language, or history class, that's great, but it's more important that you find teachers who know you well and who like you. And just ask them point blank, do you think you could give me a good letter of recommendation for college? And if so, then go ahead and get them the forms they need or link to them on the Common Application so they can do that recommendation for you. Counselors and teachers, if you're out there, emphasize how your student differs from other students. Your job is to provide the context of your school and the student in your classroom. What is it like to have a student in this classroom? I know what the student's grades are as an admission officer. I know what their test scores are. I know what their activities are. But what is it like to sit in a classroom with the student? Do they do well in group work? Do they do well individually? Are they a leader? Are they quiet yet efficient and get things done? You set that context for the colleges and really help them. Because colleges want all types of students. Don't try to make the student into something they're not. Be honest and give a good supportive letter for those students who you agree to write for. If you don't have a school profile, the Common Application will actually walk you through the detailed information that colleges want in school profile. So if you've done that, you actually don't have to worry about having a separate school profile. All right. Where are you going to be happy? What academic interests do you have? That's important for you students to think about. How far do you want to go to college? Will you go to the other side of the country? How close will you stay? Would you stay in your own state? Would you stay in your own town? These are the parameters that you need to set. Do you want to go to a big school? Do you want to go to a small school? How big a school would you look at? How small a school would you consider? Do you want to look at someplace in between? Do you want to play athletics in college? Do you want to have a college that has fraternities and sororities? Do you want to have a college that has big athletics, even if you don't want to play big athletics? As a Native student, what do you need? Do you need a strong Native community at your college? Are you willing to go a place and be a pioneer and be one of a few Native students, or maybe the only Native student, and lead the way for other Native students to come behind you? These are the kind of parameters that you need to think about. We tell our students here at the Academy to think about applying to somewhere between 5 and 10 colleges, and that's a good number. You don't have to apply to that many. You might want to apply to a few more. Many more than that is not a good idea. You might want to apply to fewer than 10, and that's fine too. But set yourself those parameters. Think about colleges that you're going to be able to get into easily, those sometimes called safety schools, those in the middle where you're a strong applicant and competitive, and maybe even go for some colleges that might be a stretch, that might not be easy for anybody to get into. Think about the different options. There are so many colleges out there, and the best colleges for you might be colleges you have never heard of at this point. So keep an open mind. There are lots and lots of options. We also try to tell our students here at the Academy that there's really no such thing as a dream school. Don't get your mindset on any one college, no matter how perfect you think it is. There's no such thing as a perfect college. Take a look at different resources, websites, guidebooks, everything to get input on all of the different possibilities. But at my office, we're all about options, options, options. Here are a couple of other good resources: Big Future, the College Board Search Program. I'm First, particularly targeted at students who are going to be first in the families to go to colleges. FastWeb is a clearinghouse for scholarships. AIGC has some great information for Native students. FinAid is great information on the financial aid programs and options, and FAFSA is again for signing up for that federal aid form. All right, that's a lot of information thrown at you in a short period of time, and sorry to have to go so fast, but we really wanted to try to cover it. But bottom line, Common Application, look at that list of colleges on the Common Application. If you're applying to 2 or more, you absolutely should use the Common Application. Walk through it. It's very logical. You go step by step. If you run into trouble, it has a great help system. You send in a help question. They email back to you right away with the answer. And we think that you're going to find it a very effective tool that will help streamline this whole process for you. All right.
Great. Thank you so much, Ralph. That was extremely helpful, and it was very, very helpful to also see the Common App on the screen there in person. We do have some questions from the audience for you. I'll go ahead and start throwing them your way, and we have a few minutes left, so we'll see how many we can get through. The first one is from a student: what qualifies as an extracurricular activity? Can cultural responsibilities count?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Extracurricular activities are typically looked at clubs at your school, sports, publications, those kind of activities, but also things like involvement in your tribe or your culture, cultural ceremonies, dances, part-time jobs. Some of you might have jobs and need to help to pay expenses. That's all looked at. The Common App very clearly goes through and lets you put in a lot of different things and activities. If you work, it will ask you separately about work experience. Colleges pay attention to that. Some of you might think, I work a lot of hours, I actually don't have time for clubs and organizations. Colleges will make note of that if you have those hours. Then you're not going to be penalized for that in any way. But absolutely, absolutely keep cultural activities in mind when you're talking about your extracurriculars.
Excellent. Our next question is: do the colleges see how many applications you send out? If not, can you apply to more than 10?
You can apply to more than 10. There is no limit. Your school might have a limit. You should find out that first. I think that 10 is sort of a good mental limit, because in the end, you only get to go to one college, and if you can't make up your mind to limit it to 10 to start with, you're going to have trouble deciding if you get admitted to numerous colleges. So that's why it's a good idea. Do colleges see which ones you apply to? Some colleges will ask you, what colleges have you applied to? Frankly, I don't like that question, and I have a real problem with it, but some colleges will ask, and you should at least tell them a couple of the schools that you've applied to. Most, though, won't ask and don't know directly from the Common Application itself which colleges you've applied to.
Okay, next question. When do you recommend a student should finish and submit their application by? Is it necessary to submit by the deadline?
It is critical that you submit things by the deadline, because for if a college is going to receive many, many, many more applications than they can have spots for, that's an easy way to weed students out. Oh, you submitted after the deadline. Sorry, we're not going to consider you. So don't let those deadlines come without submitting those applications. Submitting it earlier than that, sometimes that can be helpful at big state schools that have some scholarship programs or things like priority deadlines. But for most of the common application schools, the deadline that they post, that's when they want it by. There's no real advantage to doing it before then, but please, please, please do not miss the deadline. And don't wait till the last minute. If you're pretty much done and the deadline's tomorrow, don't say, okay, I'm going to wait till tomorrow to submit it. What if something happens to your internet or your computer connection? Submit it when you're ready to do it, and that's fine. Don't rush it, but don't delay it either, just to wait till the deadline.
Great. And then I am a counselor at a school. What are the college guidebooks that you recommend?
For big searches, in general, starting out the search, there's a guidebook called the Fiske Guide to College, Fiske, and Fiske Guide has a couple different publications. Those are all good. One of the ones that's just fabulous for a more focused look at particular majors is a book called The College Finder by a man named Stephen Antonoff, Antonoff. The College Finder is kind of a Bible for college counselors like me. Whenever we do programs together, you won't see a single one of my colleagues who doesn't have that book in his or her hands when it comes down to it, because that one's a really, really critical one. There are also websites and a variety of different things. I like the website Unigo, unigo.com, to get a little bit of a flavor of the schools, but it's not a good place to start. Unigo will clutter you down with too much information. Save that for after you already think that you like the school. Then check it out on Unigo.
Great. And then I think we have time for one more. How will my financial aid situation factor into the decisions of the schools I apply to?
That's a great question. A lot of colleges will look at your admission qualifications and decide whether or not you are a student that they want on their campus without looking at the finances at all. Those are called need-blind colleges, and that's great. But many other colleges realistically might consider whether or not you have financial need. You need to ask the colleges directly and see whether they are need blind or whether they will consider finances. A lot of colleges will be in between. They'll say for regular decision, for a regular process, we're need blind. We'll look at financial aid after we admit a student. But if your student is on the wait list, then we might only really look at students who aren't going to need a lot of aid from us. That will vary from college to college. But keep in mind that the finances are a separate process, and you need to go through that separately from the application process.
Great. And that looks like all the questions we had, Ralph. We hope you found the info on today's webinar really useful. Thank you again to all those who were able to join us today, and for all those of you who are watching this recording. And a special thanks to Ralph for agreeing to present on this webinar. Have a wonderful day. Stay tuned as we announce future online events by email, and thanks again.
You bet. Happy to help.